Well, I'll be damned. An actual federal official has now been charged because of terrorism committed on January 6th. Let's put it up full mass here. I'll give you the background and a reminder of what happened. Kevin Alstrup, a diplomatic security officer. I'm going to explain what that means in just a moment. This person worked for the State Department, the US State Department, has now been charged with 4 criminal misdemeanors for allegedly breaching the US Capitol on January 6, 2021. That's according to a newly unsealed court document. This security official is seen highlighted in the image as he enters the US Capitol. I don't think he's the only ranking official, but he has now been caught. He's accused of walking through the Capitol building for about 28 minutes during the riot and taking pictures on a digital camera. He joins a growing list of current and former federal employees charged in connection to the January 6th insurrection. Now, ladies and gentlemen, these are the people that work for the government and wanted to overthrow it. So just remember that. Other officials charged include an ex-DEA agent and a former Trump State Department appointee. Quote, "We are aware that a US government contractor was arrested for his alleged participation in the events that took place at the US Capitol on January 6, 2021, a State Department spokesperson said, referring CNN to the US Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia for questions related to the case. Quote, "The individual was a third-party contractor providing uniformed officer services for the State Department," the spokesperson said. He has not yet entered a formal plea in court. He does not yet have a defense lawyer listed. According to the charging documents, FBI agents first learned of the alleged presence of the security official in the mob through social media posts, and quickly became aware that he was employed by the State Department. Quote, "FBI personnel also determined that as a part of his employment is familiar with providing security and protection for high-ranking government officials or sensitive locations like embassies," prosecutors wrote. Prosecutors say that he was also filmed in police body camera footage outside the Capitol. That footage shows the security official leaving the building and walking around the restricted grounds, according to the report. Now, put the picture up again, okay? He comes into the building. There's already a call for riot, meaning over the actual loudspeakers and the police radios. They have now called this a riot, and you hear it clearly. They're calling it a riot, which means everybody now has to leave. He decides to breach, along with the other criminals who did so, committing an act of domestic terrorism. And then he doesn't destroy property according to the narrative we have now. He takes pictures. Why is he taking pictures? Remember what he does for a living, at least at that time. He's a security guy. He's a security guy for high-ranking officials. This seems like your advance team taking photographs, finding vulnerabilities. They do that in order to come back. That's what it sounds like. Now, naturally, I cannot prove any of this. It's all circumstantial. But why would a security official who has that kind of training commit such a criminal act and take pictures? And let me remind everyone of when they called the riot. Here's some footage from that day.
Here, we're going to give riot warning. We're going to try to get compliance, but this is now effectively a riot.
49 hours declaring it a riot.
5 to 50 be advised, Capitol Police 1 advised they're trying to breach and get into the Capitol.
We have a breach of the Capitol! Breach of the Capitol! We need to hold the doors of the Capitol. I need court support. We lost the line. We lost the line. All MPDs get back. All MPDs get back up to the upper deck. All MPDs get back to the upper deck.
They were peaceful people. These were great people. The crowd was unbelievable. And I mentioned the word love, the love in the air. I've never seen anything like it.
They call that love. That is love in the air. I call it domestic terrorism, violence, criminality. All right, another one bites the dust. I think more are coming. Yasmin, thoughts?
Yeah, it's good to see that people like this, federal officials aren't being protected from criminal charges when they've actually committed crimes. But apart from that, it's scary because it proves what a lot of people have already suspected. It's not uncommon for people to have allegiances to people or entities outside of where they say they lie. But it's also not unusual for governments to be infiltrated by corrupt individuals, but it's still disconcerting to see. I'm assuming government entities and, places of business in general do their best to vet employees and contractors, but there's only so much you can do to really understand people's feelings and their beliefs. When it comes to something like security, it's like a plot in every heist movie. You got to get your man on the inside, and that's exactly what they did here. So there's not so much you can do in terms of preventing these people from getting into the inner circle in the first place, but you do what you can. On the other end, though, you've got to be just as vigilant when it comes time to prosecute criminal behavior when it happens. You also have to let people know that this kind of behavior won't be tolerated, nor will it be protected from legal repercussions.
Yeah, that's right. And I've been on record saying this. I believe it wholeheartedly. I don't think the federal government has done what they should have done by making examples out of everyone. Yeah. They have made examples out of a couple of people, and those few people have been able to gain the spotlight because of it. All right, we'll bring you updates as they develop.